some tailwind default.
I hope nothing goes wrong again, because we should be live right now. And I think we are. Just takes a couple of seconds. Okay, this is shot. Now let me make sure that everything is working correctly, because it wasn't a moment ago. Is the audio there? Yeah, it is. For some reason, OBS just refused to work today for some reason. And yes, welcome back. I haven't been able to stream a lot lately because of work, but we are finally back. And the thing is, we technically are finished with our backend. We are just missing a few functionalities here and there, but more or less the basics one are finished. But what are we struggling with, or at least I am struggling with, is Angular. So the plan for today's stream will be probably just Angular and CSS as much as possible. Because the thing is, styling components isn't my strongest suit generally. But also Angular, it's not that it's difficult. I just need to see something practical about it. So I found this one, I think from last stream, where you build something like of an e-commerce and you keep on using the components there.
Now let's talk about what.
And after that, we continue with the functionality. The thing is, the way I study stuff is I need to build something minimal first, and from there scale it up. So I think that's a style of learning different people have, but at least for me, that's what I discovered was better. So there is a holistic approach. I will talk about my approach first. You have here, you are studying for the project, you build the minimum one, and then you start to scale out. And so the circle becomes bigger. Some people would like to actually go for the big part first, and then go for the details after. Not sure if that makes sense to anyone, but it does for me. So I need a minimal product to be able to do first. So for that, I'll probably have to do a new project. Have to probably create a new folder for that. Rust e-commerce. And then we'll open this in new file, or open file. Desktop projects. Okay, yeah, I should have picked open folder, not file. My bad. So what was the command for it again? npm install. I will have to check on that.
Which is the
Install node npm install /g angular CLI. Okay. So half correct, I say. npm install /g at angular /CLI. I think I misspelled angular also here. npm install /g at angular CLI. Okay, but if I remember correctly, it does take some time, right?
version that has been released just a week ago, I guess. Okay, next let's create
Yeah, it will take a time. And after that,
application at this point is just a simple client side.
And I think you wanted installed. I don't see anything installed. What? Okay.
Okay, so let's first start by installing Angular, because if you're starting Angular for the first time, this might be a challenge.
npm install, and then we have Angular CLI.
As well. Next, let's create a new Angular project using the CLI that we just installed. So I've gone into my projects folder where I keep all of my projects, and I'm just going to do ng new, and then we give the Angular project name. So
yeah, okay. So since I installed Angular before, there is no need to reinstall it again. I have to just
in
write
my
new.
case, I'm just going to give it Angular ecom.
Okay, we just type new, and then the project new Angular ecom. What do you mean it's not recognized? It's not recognized the name of the C only function. Okay, something is missing, so we'll have to start
So
everything
let's
from the
start
beginning.
by installing Angular, because if you're starting Angular for the first time, this might be a challenge as well. So first of all, we need to install Node. If you haven't worked
I think I installed Node before. Do I have to install it every time? I don't
with
think so.
any frameworks in the past, any JavaScript frameworks or JavaScript packages, so you need to go to nodejs.org and you need to download Node.js on your own.
I think we can just check Node by dash version. So maybe on dash. Yeah, we do have Node.
Platform, whatever it is, Windows, Mac, whatever. And once you download this, you are going to get the Node package manager within that as well, which is a way to install dependencies. We're going to use it to install the Angular CLI so that we can create new applications in Angular and do all of the other stuff that we need within the application as well. Okay, so we need to download this. Now I've already downloaded it. So next thing we need to do is to go in our terminal, whatever terminal you have, and do npm install.
I think we already installed Angular. That's the thing. npm install -g add Angular CLI.
And then globally the
Globally,
Angular
okay.
CLI. Now this is going to install your Angular command line interface package, which we are going to use to create applications and to also create components, services, and all of the other boilerplate code that we need for Angular inside of the
Let me check for the version also for
since
that
this is
one.
already installed, we have already done. And then next we need to just check whether it's installed.
Okay, so it's just ng. Okay, we do have Angular CLI installed. Yeah, these steps are the one that we did from before when we did our first project, so we don't have to do it again.
And
But
here you can see that now Angular CLI gives a version of 19.0.2, which is the version that has been released just a week ago, I guess. Okay, next let's create a new Angular project using the CLI that we just installed. So I've gone into my projects folder where I keep all of my projects, and I'm just going to do
yeah, we are in the project folder.
and then we give the Angular project name. So in my case, I'm just going to give it Angular ecom, something like this.
ng then new. I think I forgot to write ng last time. ng new, and we say Angular dash e-commerce or ecom. Okay, that's the word that we are missing. We missed to write ng.
And
I think he took SAS because I think he used Tailwind.
you can give various parameters to this CLI command, which is going to configure our Angular application according to our needs. So in my case, my personal favorite is to keep inline styles and inline templates.
I try not to use inline that much. It just makes everything messy, but I think you can if you want to use, of course.
Skip tests. Okay. Now for skip test, this means that it's going to avoid creating new files for testing, because currently we don't need it. And for inline style and inline template, I'm going to tell you more about it in a bit when we go on to the process of
It's basically instead of having a separate HTML folder and CSS folder, you can do it in the same TypeScript folder.
Creating components in our Angular application. All right. Let's just go with it for now. Okay, and then it gives you a bit of
yeah, I think he chose SAS.
options that you can choose. So it asks you which form of style sheets that you are going to use. So we are going to use SAS, which is fine for us.
SAS line, probably the first one then, because we have two SAS here. Slash SCSS, yeah, it's the first one. Yeah, sure. So yes, now let him install.
And then it says that you want to enable server-side rendering.
He's explaining the component part. I think more or less we understand that. But as a refresher, we can do it again.
Okay, so let's start with the basic concept.
So we have a component. The HTML page is the main component. Actually, give me a second, someone's calling. Yeah, sorry for that. I think the package is finished. Yes, it is. But okay, now it's finished. Now we have everything back again. We have the index HTML and the app root, which should be here. App root.ts. But it's the service one. Okay, I forgot the command to run it on the website. But
so Angular component button coding. Okay, so let's see your root component, which is the main button coding. Okay, so let's start with the basic concept of Angular components. So Angular components are basic building blocks of our Angular application. Everything in Angular is actually...
no, I think I actually... Where did my mouse go? Okay, weird. There should be a command that I wrote here for installing ngc header. Ng, so it's always ng. And for the start, we say npm start. Error, this is related to npm. Okay, that's new also. Okay, I think I'll have to check on the other Angular vs React. This about Angular version ng new. After creating the first application, how do you run it?
When Angular looks at the index HTML, it knows that inside the body, this tag which is being used is actually, and the first thing that we are going to, second thing is main.ts. This file seems like I have an issue here. So let's figure out it right here. So if I do ng new and I say help, this is going to show me what kind of parameters are allowed. So I want to see which one was the inline styles, so not inline styles apparently. So my in want to use SCSS, and it's also installing the packages for us. Pretty convenient. And TS. And in the previous, we're going to first see that we have this on PS4.
Where?
To first localhost 4200. And if I view terminal and if I click this, I should be able to just open this. And if I run npm start, this is going to serve.
So yes, it was np start, but for some reason it's not working. How about I do it in a new terminal? Npm start. A complete log of this can be found. How about we ask the internet for that issue? There account, find the package, file specified, verify the directory, check for package.json. But wait, I just installed the app. I haven't even had any chance to mess with it. Where did reinstall the dependencies? Sure, why not? It looks like today will be spent on debugging. Huh? I think it has something to do with the permissions.
my inline style. So here I'm gonna just remove that. And now I can hit enter. Now it's gonna ask me if I want to use SCSS. Yes, I will. And I'll say no to rendering. And now this will actually create the project for us. And it's also installing the packages for us. Pretty convenient. Now one of the things I want you to see is in this particular case, it just created an app component TS file. You will see no HTML and no CSS.
We do have the package.json and everything, but still for some reason it's not
Because we
working.
opted for inline styles and template. And in the previous case, when we created it, it also created the HTML and
The
CSS.
worst type
for
of error you can
SCSS
get
file.
is the error
We are
that
going
you're
to
setting
open
up.
now this in VS Code. Cool. Now that my app is created, I'm just gonna go ahead and say first ng app, and I'll open that in VS Code. All right. Now when we look at our application, you're going to see that we have the package.json, a couple of things here, but I just want to go through the main file. So package.json is the main file for you to run any scripts. If you want to serve our development server of Angular application, we just need to run npm start from our terminal. When we want to build this for production, we are going to run.
Okay, it's from the package.json. It's called ngserve. Okay. ngserve. And we have ng build and we have everything. Yeah, how about I just don't type anything and just this command is not available when running Angular CLI outside the workspace. Am I outside the workspace? I don't think so. I think I have to cd inside the thing itself because I'm outside the package. cd Angular. Nope. About the other one. Then npm install. And just npm start. Yes, sure. So wait, it is npm start, but because I was not in the same folder with the folder outside of it, we were in the first e-commerce folder, not in that folder. That's why. Ouch. But at least that one didn't take that long to discover. So yeah, this was the issue.
Actually made up of components. So we have let's move on to actually starting coding. Okay, so let's
Yes,
start with the
finally.
basic concept of Angular components. So Angular components are basic building blocks of our Angular application. Everything in Angular is actually made up of components. So
Yes,
we have
yes.
at the root of our Angular application the root component, which is usually named app, but some developers also follow the practice, and we are going to keep all of our components in a components folder. So in this components folder, we are going to give the header component. All right. So let's.
Okay, so it's ng generate component. I think the other shortcut with it. ngc, yeah, ngc component, and no, ngc components header. Okay, let's go to the other terminal. ngc components header. I think I mistyped something. ngc components header. Yeah, because I'm not cd angular / and then let's type this one. Huh? Yeah, this one. Maybe I should take a Linux course to understand how to be better with writing in the command line, at least more comfortable. But anyway, so first of all, I think we have to delete some stuff. Where is the app.html? We don't need any of this here. when the CSS is empty. Component.ts, where is it? I think I should keep the service outlet one. I should delete everything except for the server let outlet. That's a lot of text. Just delete these for now. I think there is probably a shortcut. Now let's check the app here. Yeah, now it's empty. So we have the header here. Now we should be starting.
Press enter here and see what it does. And you can see that it creates a component file here. You can see it goes in this components folder and the name is header.component.ts, which tells you that, okay, this is a component file. All right. So great, we have created a new component. But how do we actually use this component in our main application and show it on the screen? So as I said,
Well, if I remember correctly, you add the header component to the app component, which is added to the main page file, the
before,
index.html.
the app component is the root level component or the top level component. Everything else is going to be contained within that.
Yes.
So we want to use the header component that we created in this app component. To do that, what we need to do is first we need to import it here, components, header, and we're going to import header component, and then we need to also add it to the components imports.
I think if you add it directly, there is no need. Yes, if we just add it here and you said header component, yeah, I just added
Here like this, okay, and then we need to use this inside of our template so that we can show it. Okay, we're going to remove the router outlet here, which comes by default. We don't actually need it here,
so we don't actually need it. We need to divide. So we'll have here the HTML always, and here we would like to write the header. It's even though it's called header component here, if we actually went to the header component itself, it says app header. So the tag here is app header.
so all we're going to do is that we are just going to do app header like this. Now why did we do app header here? Because if you go
Now let's check if we have anything in the TS folder of the app header. It should be inherited to that one. But even before that, I want to check the header works. Where did the header works come from? We have an HTML that says okay, of course.
in your header component, you can see that there is a property called selector. Now, when we need to use our Angular components in other Angular components, we can use them in the template by referring to their selector. Now, you can keep the selector in any format that you want, but the recommended way is to keep it app dash the name of the component. All right. So
Okay.
here we have app header. This is going to show that component on the UI. All right. Let's also remove router outlet from here from now. Okay. Okay. Let's save this. Now, how do we actually show it on the screen? So to actually show it on the screen, we are going to split my screen for the ngDev. This is going to start up our development server so that we can test out our application as we develop it. Okay.
Okay, it seems like everyone's using a different command. ngDev, ngserve, ngserver, I think it was.
So it says here that it is now deployed on localhost 4200. So we are going to go
Which localhost was that one?
4200. And you can now see that there is a text called header works. Why is that? Because when we go in our app header component, the only template that we have here is header works.
I
Right?
definitely
So we
need a
can
second
change it to
screen for that.
anything and it's going to show up as it is. We can do hello, and once we save this, you can see that it shows up as it is. Okay. So if you want static data, that's really great. But what if you want dynamic data? Now, for showing dynamic data, we need to declare some properties in our class here. So we can make
Yes.
it a normal property here. So let's say we give it a title and we
Okay, I think I can do that one. So the header component, we say title. Let's just say string, and we say this is dynamic. Don't forget to say writing JavaScript now make me forget to write the semicolon every time. I don't think it's a good thing, but let's remove this one and add the title. Now if we check the website here, yeah, this is dynamic. I'm having the live functionality here because I forget to save, but it doesn't seem to work as fast as I think
say
it would.
that this is my app. Okay, but how do we show this on the component in the template? So much are going to that to in
Okay.
this case title here. If our data not a best practice anymore, post signals were, which is a new reactivity API introduced in Angular.
Mm-hmm.
This is not really recommended. So what is recommended is that you create a signal for that purpose.
And the way you create a signal is just by adding a signal here and just making a close bracket. And I think you should take the type also, but I'm not sure about that.
So what is a signal? Let's go through a bit of info about what a signal is. So the Signals API was introduced in Angular version 16, and it is a way to add reactivity to your Angular applications. The
Mm-hmm.
benefit of using the Signals API is that it is highly reactive, which means that it also keeps track of where it's being used and not only its value. So whenever the value is changed, Angular basically updates it on that specific position on the UI, and it does not have to change anything else. So what are the three things that you can do with signals? So you can read a value. If you declare a signal like this, you can read the value by using the function syntax, just like you use a function. And
Okay, but how do you use it
create a signal by
exactly?
using this syntax. You can define a signal. Let's see this in action as well, and let's go in our code here. So if you want to change this title to a signal, what are we going to do? We are going to do signal, and we get this from Angular core. Then we can give the initial value of the signal by giving it inside this.
Ah, okay, it's because I don't have it imported. Cannot find signal. Okay, so instead of just doing it from here, it should autocomplete. Signal from Angular core, yes. Now it's added, and let's say this is even more dynamic. But the title here, is it still? I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think you'll explain that, so might as well just look for it. If we are using Angular, the signal function inside a variable. What type is that variable? I misspelled that, but I think he's smart enough to know it. Is used to create the signal function is used to create a React primitive that holds a value and can modify. The type variable where t is the type of value you pass. So it's optional. So you are saying that type is optional. I thought about doing DeepSeek because people are saying it's good. It's definitely slower. So the answer is yes. That's all I need to know. That's enough. So when we make a variable and you want to type it and we have a signal that holds a string. How do you define that? You can define the text explicitly. Explicit defining type. Okay, I have to mention the optional class and then okay, I see. Definitely unnecessary, but at least now I understand.
Bracket here. We can also give
Let's check here. It's because the signal that we added in the HTML here. I think we should add brackets because it's a function. This is even more dynamic, yes, because I think he printed it as an actual curly braces, not as part of the code.
give the type of the signal if we don't know the initial value, but in
Okay, so here is where we keep the type instead of mentioning it here. String. Yes, that
this
was
here
my
is not
question.
needed, so we're not gonna specify it. All right. Okay, and then you
Mm-hmm.
can see that it gives a warning here, and it says the title is a function. So it's calling it a function, but basically this is a signal, so we need to read it
Add the
like this.
add
Once we save
the
this,
brackets.
we
Yes.
can see that it has Angular e-commerce here, which is the value here. Now we can also update this signal, but we're gonna see more of this in a bit. The important thing to remember is that whenever you want to use any dynamic data in your application, in your Angular application, the
Which is like how it's 80%. The only thing that I can think when I'm seeing a website that's not dynamic is probably the URLs. I don't think you really need to make it dynamic. For example, you will always have a home page and about page and help section, all that stuff. They are always fixed. The information that you get, however, from the backend is the one that will keep on changing.
the best practice is to use signals for this purpose because Angular is moving towards signals in the future and is going to also remove its default change detection. So it is a good practice to start using signals right away so that you can be future proof. All right. All right. So we have our basic header here, header component here, and it just has our title, but it looks really bland. So what we need to do is we need to add some
Started.
styles to it to make it look good. So let's say that we add some styles here, and in our styles, let's say that we want to add a header style here, header class here, and
And the thing is that you don't need to specify any ID or class for the header because there is only one header. And that CSS folder is working inside that header. So we say that header, and then everything here will be declared with the style. Even if you have another header outside, it doesn't matter. It's the same folder here.
let's give it a background of a very light gray color.
Okay. Background color, and we say RGB. Let's put this one to 0. This one to 0 also. And this one also to 0. 0.5 that is. What did he say? Background? Yeah, just background without the color. RGBA. And it's 3 zeros actually. I have never seen that type of styling before. Nothing changed. Okay.
And then the color we're gonna give as black because this is going to be text and a bit of padding. All right, and then we are gonna apply this to our header here.
It's because I haven't applied it to the header. Open the HTML and we add here
fact, instead of P, we are gonna call this diff here. Okay, so we applied this just like.
So we create the class and then we have it, and we change this to div. So we'll also change that one. We say class header. Give me a second, I'll be back. Now I'm back.
We do in a normal HTML.
Okay, so now I remember. Do we need to check if it changed anything? Yes, it did. So we did have a class. So I did create the class.header. I forgot everything about CSS. How to create classes in CSS and how we would use them. Definitely it's slower than ChatGPT. We don't need that one for now, at least. Not sure, is it the internet connection that I have? I think there is just connection. The server is busy. Yes. Either a lot of people are in the class or in the server, or my internet is just not that good. Classes in CSS using the dot allowed by the class in your CSS or within your style, defining a class, applying it, you say class, and then you specify the name. Okay, so I did need to create the class. And to apply it, he did mention it in the properties.
Application is diff here. Okay.
Now, what other styles did he
Add a
have?
header style here of color we are adding, all right, and then we are going
And that he said color black and then padding 1 rem. Now the color is black and the padding is 1 rem. Alright, check what changed here. Maybe I didn't notice the difference, but what's 1 rem? Context of padding. 1 rem is a unit measure for relative to the root element's HTML font size. The font size of the root HTML by default browser. it's relative to the font size. Okay.
We're gonna apply this to our header here. And in fact, instead of p, we're gonna call this div here. Okay. So we applied this just like we do in a normal HTML application. You can now see that the styles are applied. Now the important thing here to remember is the concept of styles encapsulation in Angular. Okay. So if we write this style here, header here, and we use this here, this style is going to remain encapsulated. By default, it's encapsulated inside of this component, so you cannot use it outside of the component.
Yes, that's the topic that we are talking
Right?
about.
And this is usually what we need because we want to keep our styles contained. Now, if you want a different behavior, like if you want a reusable style declaration, which you can use throughout your application, you go in your
Global CSS.
styles.sass file, which is a global file I mentioned previously, and you can give that header class name here. And then it's going to be accessible in all components, including the actual header component as well. Okay. Alright, so this was just a basic of the styling and the style encapsulation and how to create a component in Angular. Okay, so I only mentioned the styling part and adding my own class names just to show how styling encapsulation works. But in actuality, in this application, I am going to exclusively use the Tailwind CSS framework for styling my application. Now, what is Tailwind? Tailwind CSS is basically a utility first CSS framework which allows us to use utility classes in our HTML or in our Angular templates, for example, and we don't need to create new class names for specific parts of the HTML.
The thing is, if I went straight with Tailwind, my CSS skill will be very trash.
So this makes styling really fast for us. And so I want to introduce Tailwind here so that we can move with this tutorial or this crash course really fast and style our application just as I wanted. Okay. So when we use Tailwind for utility classes, we are not
I think yes, I will use it here just to get a hang of the Angular, since that's the main point, not CSS.
going to need this style section for the most part. All right. So let's get on with that and let's install Tailwind. Now to install Tailwind, we need a few steps and I'm just going to show the link here, which is the official Tailwind CSS guide to install that. And what we need to do is we just need to copy these commands here.
Another installment. Tailwind Angular. npm install, that's the one. Now it's installing. For that time, we should be
I'm going to
here.
install Tailwind CSS, post CSS, and Automatic Fixer, and then I'm going to initialize the Tailwind file here.
And initialize, I'm not sure about the initialize part, it doesn't say here. Add import to the style.css.
So we have created a Tailwind config file here, and in this config file, we are going to add a content sec.
So you have a Tailwind config file. I think they will do it automatically, but I'm not sure. Tailwind config file. Nope, they didn't, so you probably have to do it ourselves. What was the command? npx tailwind init. npx tailwind. Okay, it's tailwind css. I missed that one. npx tailwind css, it's still wrong. Okay, how about we just go to import tailwind css to the style. I think we don't need that since it's probably a newer version, but we definitely need to insert this. Create a JSON, configure the port CSS plugins. in the root of your app project, post cssrc.json. I don't think we have that file now. Nope, I don't think we have that file. We have to customly create this one. File in the root of your project and add that details in css. It says here to the root, and by root does it mean the source one? I think it does. And then we have to add this. Then add import to the style.css. Which style CSS though? Is it for the global or for the one that we plan to use it for? The thing is that video is 2 months old and still the installation is still different. Tailwind CSS with Angular, so yes, it is the same one.
Config file here, and in this config file, we are going to add a content section so that Tailwind can know in which files our content is. And then lastly, we need to add these initial styles in our global styles file.
Okay, so it is for the global. Where is the global CSS file that we have? This one is the app. Where is the index HTML? Okay, it's this one. So this is the global.
Okay, so we are going to go in our styles.sass here, and we're going to paste these here. Don't worry about these
Unable to open because the file was not found.
warnings. It's not gonna affect anything. All right.
Okay.
And now, just as an added thing, it will also be good for you to have a Tailwind CSS IntelliSense plugin here.
Out of configuration. Tailwind. No, for the extension, actually, not the search. Extensions, yes. Tailwind. This.
Aside from, of course,
Just a lot of things to make JavaScript work as a normal language.
the Angular language service, which is
Not even the normal language, just to make it deal with the front end.
is required for creating Angular applications. But you could also, it would be also great for you to use the Tailwind CSS IntelliSense because it's going to suggest to you the utility classes that you need to use. It makes it really fast and efficient as a workflow. Okay, so Tailwind.
I think it's installed now. Yes, it is. Back to the files.
Is now installed. And now, so just to test out, we can just convert this header that we have to whatever we want here. So let's just run the dev server again. And you can see that the styles have already somewhat changed because of some Tailwind default styles.
Did it? I will have to check. So this is the T. Okay, no. This one is the HTML. That's for the main component. Now this is for the header. This is the TSS. Actually, let's have the CSS also file open at the same time.
But we are
yes, we need to check. I don't really think we have seen anything. And I don't think there is any default changes here.
We're going to change this a bit. We're going to remove this header. We don't need it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of this header, we are going to give our classes here. So we're going to give a
Okay, so he removed the header, completely even. And where is the HTML file? Instead of the header, he will add the components, the properties here.
it a more slate color here.
BG slit 100. BG slit 100.
So, and then we're gonna give a bit of padding here.
X4. I don't think it is working, but we'll check after we type
Alright.
the values.
And then some horizontal padding and some vertical padding.
PY-3.
And then we're gonna give is a nice shadow so that it looks like
Shadow dash MD. I hope it works, but it doesn't show any sign of working. Yeah. Something wrong with the configuration for the CSS that we created. Dash style.css. cd my project. So it's yeah, so you did have to cd to the project first anyway. And add a tailwind plugin to your page. We did that part, but it's not working for some reason. That's why I didn't want to do it with. Now I lost where was the file again. I think you have to put it inside the source folder. Yes, now if we go to the site.css, it's still the same. Now we have the imports in the site.css, which is not working. Okay, how about I copy this one? Just to check if the CSS style is working to begin with. Let's comment that part for now. But the style is not working. There is no underline, yes. My day will be spent on debugging today. How to import tailwind.css. I have to specify that's in Angular. Now even ChatGPT is bugging. Okay, no, something's wrong here. How to install tailwind CSS Angular. Okay, so npm install tailwind. I did try to create it, but for some reason it didn't. Okay, more command lines. And this one is the one that's currently working with all the updates. So give me a new one here. Okay, that's different from the one that we did before. Could not determine the executable to run. I don't like setting up files. Just takes too time and there is no merit to it. Run this command to check if the Node.js npm is installed. I think it is installed. Not sure about the npm though. No, both of them are installed. Need to clear the cache. The cache is cleared. Reinstall. Okay, everything is fine. Now let's start the command again. Still there. Ensure that the path is correct. Give me nothing. You may need to reinstall. Yeah, let's try another method. Nope, still an error. Okay, for step 4 is using Nova. This time quick from an Angular video to a Tailwind installation guide. Why do I need to uninstall the program completely after I just installed it? Okay, it looks like I would have to change everything. And by everything, I mean not using this thing at all. Yeah, this entire file is messed up right now. And I cannot use this one. Can I just find an Angular project with no CSS? Everyone seems to be using Tailwind CSS.
Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're going to be building this Kanban layout in Angular using the Angular CDK to create these draggable cards which we can drag and drop to reposition in their column and also transfer them to other columns.
Okay.
So stay tuned to learn exactly.
Hello, my name is Alex and welcome to my Angular development crash course for beginners. And throughout this video, you will learn pretty much everything you need to know to start building your own Angular web applications. Now, we will achieve that by building an Angular storefront, which is going to communicate with our backend to fetch and display products on our homepage. The only prerequisites to this video is basic knowledge of JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. But beyond that, you can follow along at any level of proficiency. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight into the video. The first step is to actually download Node.js and Angular and start. You can
did that.
You want to locate this package right here, which is Corridor Applicable in that version. Now, having that said, there is also a set.
So we'll definitely not be needing this project anymore. By just how waste of it, because I just messed up the entire folder. Now
Second way to download and this different section, and from here you can just on angular.io on Angular to locate code editor of your build your web application.
Yeah, it's now, everything from the beginning.
So in other words, every page that you them. web application, or at least a huge part of it, onto my browser, and then this allows me to run the web application pretty much seamlessly. So this is very similar to the logic which we adhere to with mobile applications, where you have to pre-download the mobile application onto your device in order to use it. However, the difference here is that you don't need to manually download every single web application, and you only need to access the corresponding website.
Okay, I lot of use this stuff.
Go in the in by the server before the page is eventually served. We jump into development, and the first step is to go on the Angular website, and here you'll find the section called tutorial.
A lot of talking in these tutorials.
Of heroes, and under create a project you will see this one right here. So we're going to be running this command to generate a new Angular project.
Like that command is also okay. That's the thing about technologies. It's a bit old, and that command seems to be old also. Can I just find a normal tutorial about how to use Angular? Okay, it looks like we'll do this one.
You have to do your part, which is to practice. If you have any questions, as I said, go ahead and join the private.
Okay. So I'll keep this one, the CSS layout for later, and please no Tailwind.
Facebook group as well as Discord, where Junior and I and the entire community, over 12,000 people, will be there to answer your questions.
Some of the prerequisites you need to have so that you can follow along.
Java, JavaScript, HTTP, Spring Boot, TypeScript, CLI, HTML, and CSS, Angular, database.
So this is going to be a Spring Boot backend application, and the whole Spring environment is primarily based on Java. So it's very important that you understand Java in Java Spring or Spring in Spring Boot. So right off the bat, you need to understand those two technologies, because we're going to use the programming language Java with Spring and Spring Boot to build the entire JavaScript. And then instead of JavaScript, what type thing you to understand so that be done on it. And then you with HTML, you can just come here, any it, and find some resources.
A lot of talking again. Skip, skip, skip. More skip. Even more skip. What? Okay, that's a new thing.
You don't necessarily have to install HTTP Pi just for this, but I'm just gonna show you how it's such a nice, very nice command that you can use, which is HTTP Pi to make HTTP requests. That's pretty much everything you need to.
Actually, that's new. Let's check this one.
With HTTP Pi though, because I want to buy it popular these days, so I'm gonna be using it to build the actual front end. And then as our HTTP clients, I'm gonna be using Postman. Postman also very popular, but you can use Insomnia or any other client library that you want. But I'm gonna be using Postman with HTTP Pi though, because I want.
Okay, we'll check what HTTP Pi is. HTTP. Okay, what's the difference between this and Postman? Because it does seem to be the same.
I want to show you how you can actually make requests using HTTP Pi, or if you want, you can just use curl. You don't necessarily have to install HTTP Pi just for this, but I'm just gonna show you how it's very nice command that you can use, which is HTTP Pi to make HTTP requests. That's pretty much everything you need to have configured on your computer, and
HTTP
Pi, whatever configuration you already have and you like it, you don't need
it's
to
not
do
there.
any of
Okay.
these things. Like, you don't need to download any things I just talked about here. You can just stick to what you like. And the next section, we're just gonna dive into coding. So I'll see you guys. What you're looking at right now on your screen is the Spring Initializer website. And this website,
Okay, he's doing the backend first. We'll do the backend later. Response entity, new response. I mean, one of the things I have on my to-do list is to see how other people do their backend. List of employees, response entity, new response entity, and you're replying with the class and HTTP status. Okay.
And the employee, and you can CLI, and that component will.
Okay, now it's the Angular part.
Let me know what you think.
Funny how the Angular part took even more time.
And I'll see you guys in the next one.
Creating Angular app.
At this point, we're ready to build the front-end application. And for this, I'm gonna be using a framework that's very popular. It's called Angular, and I'm gonna be using a tool called Angular CLI so that I can create this application and manage it.
Because the reason why I don't use the documentation for that is because it's not project based. I need to build something first, and then I will check the documentation later.
And deploy. So if you don't have the Angular CLI, you can just run npm install, and then you do add angular/CLI. And if you don't have npm,
We do have it installed.
Install Node.js at node.js.org and just install the version. Any version here will work. So once you have access to the package manager, you can just install the Angular CLI, and then we can run ng new, and then give a name for the application, and then we can cd into that folder, which is the folder of the application that will be created by the Angular CLI, and then you can ng serve to just run the.
So you do have to cd, which is okay. I didn't know that we didn't need to do that, but sure.
Application on a local server. So I already have an npm install, and I already have the Angular CLI installed. So
what is Visual Studio?
Second command, and then go from there. So I'm just gonna open my terminal. I've already navigated in the folder, which is in my downloads folder, where I want to create this application. So I'm just gonna do ng new, and then give a name to the application. So I'm gonna call it Employee Manager App.
Employee Manager App. Okay. Create the folder here. Actually, it's better if we didn't create the folder if we plan to cd in it anyway. We just open the studio file, open folder, desktop, and we just open this one. And then inside here we do create the ng I think g at, okay, no, it was ng new. Yeah, ng new, and then you add ng new. What did he name it? Employee manager. Employee manager app. Now what's the configuration he picked?
It's gonna ask me if I want to do if I want to have routing in the application. Now, if you remember, this is a one-page application, so I'm not gonna have any routing. So I'm gonna say no, and it's asking me what style sheet I want to use. Is it gonna be SCSS or SAS or LESS or CSS? So I'm gonna stick with CSS because I'm gonna be using Bootstrap. So I'm gonna be using CSS Bootstrap. And I'm just gonna run this. Now, while this is creating the application and building everything, let's take a quick look at the design of the application so that we can see where we are. So back in our design, and this is the same design that I showed you earlier when we were working on the back end. The only difference is this time we're focusing on the front end, which is why I put more details on the front end, which is the client. So we've already done everything on the server, at least for this small application we're building.
You can say that, yes.
We build a server, we build a controller, and we build our access to the database, and we have all the endpoints ready. So at this point, we just need to build the front end, and the front end is going to have a few different components. There's going to be a UI, which is going to be what the user is going to see on the screen, and then this UI is going to be connecting to a component, and that component will have access to a service. And then that service will be...
Isn't the component also the same as the UI though?
What will have access to the backend. So the service will be able to make HTTP requests to the backend depending on what the user wants from the UI through the component, through the service, and then over the internet, we're going to access our backend. So this is the little design that I have for this application. And the first thing we're going to be doing once we have the front-end application or Angular application ready is to build the service in that application so that we can communicate with our backend. So we're gonna pretty much have a mirror of what we have in the backend. So we have like an endpoint to update on employees. So we're gonna have that as well.
For the service and HTTP request side, yes.
To add an employee, we're also gonna have that in the actual client service. And once we have the service ready, we'll be able to use it to update our UI. And this is gonna be done through a component because the component is like a middleware here. So hopefully this is making sense because it's a very, very simple application. We're not really doing anything really complicated. Obviously, this application is very simple. It's like one of the simplest application you can build, at least for this design that I'm trying to do, like having a backend and front end. But again, applications like this can get really, really complex. You can have proxies in between and all kinds of stuff. But we're not going to be doing that. We're just going to keep it very simple. I just want to show you how you can actually go about designing a backend application and a front end application using Spring, and then front application using Angular. And the backend application is framework or library agnostic, which means you can use pretty much anything that can communicate with a backend. You can use vanilla JavaScript to make like simple fetch requests, or you can use React.js, or you can use React Native. Like you can use anything that you can use to make any HTTP request to communicate.
Yes, but we are using it with TypeScript, so how will that make a difference?
I'm just choosing, but you could use AngularJS or React.js or React Native or whatever frontend you want, or just plain old vanilla JavaScript, just making a simple request to the backend as long as you know what the inputs are. So the process has finished. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cd into that folder.
So we do need to cd to that folder first. CD and I think project management it was called or something. I will just copy it.
Folder. So I'm gonna do employee manager app, and here I can just
npm start ngserve or start ngserve. Yes, sure, why not?
The application on local server, and we're just gonna give this some time to come up. The application has started, and we can access it in localhost 4200. This is just
it's always in the 4200. So where did I get rid of it? I don't think so. Localhost 4200. Okay, now we have it still.
Port. Of course, you can override that by just passing a simple argument. So let's go and access this. So we're gonna do localhost and port 4200 that you get when you create a nothing. So
now, how will he make the project structure here actually?
Is to create the employee interface so that we can specify the type of data that these requests are gonna be.
He has import and injectable employee service. I'm not actually.
What I want to do now before we continue adding more function is to create the employee interface so that we can specify the type of data that these requests are going to be returning.
He made an interface, public export class, that's remove the class, and then we have private, and that's the URL. Then we have constructor, and then he have here the employee. Nope, everything here is completely new to me. Public get employees, observable, and then you have any. What did he say he created?
Interface. I want to do now before we continue adding more function is to create the employee interface so that we can.
Okay. How to create the employee interface or an Angular project. An interface, and he create the interface, and that's the thing. He said interface, but that's not how interfaces are. Because usually when you create an interface, at least here, you do specify that it's an interface.
Specify the type of data that these requests are going to be returning. So I'm going to go back here and into the app folder. I'm going to create a new file, and I'm just going to.
So it's inside the component.
Call it employee.ts. And then inside here, I'm just going to do export interface employee.
Okay, that's the service.ts. Oh, okay, never mind. That's where inside the source in the app component. .service.tss. Server or service? Service now. He did create a jump with new folders. How? I'm not sure. that folder structure came out of nowhere. How did he create the employee.service.ts, sorry.
Open and close curly braces. And here I'm just gonna define all of the attributes that employee is gonna have. So they're gonna have an ID, and that's gonna be a number. They're gonna have a name, and that's
I need to check again, maybe I'm missing something. It should be inside the app, so it's here. It's Angular, that's the server. Static config. Then we have the app component.ts, which is normal, there is nothing new to it. And then we have this one here. Okay, maybe I will continue to watch, maybe you'll explain it later.
String. They're also gonna have an email. Hopefully I can remember everything that I said in the back end. And I remember job title, so job title.
Okay, basic stuff.
And they have a phone, which is a string. Image URL, which is also a string. And then they have an employee code. I think this is everything that we set in the back. And then we can come back and change this if we forgot something.
Yeah, sure.
And this is also a string. So this represents the type of data that's going to be returning whenever we make those calls to the backend, because we're just technically mirroring what an employee looks like.
So yeah, you're exactly mirroring the class that you made in the Spring Boot, yes.
From the back.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna copy this and close it and collapse this. So now we can say, hey, this is gonna return a
How did you create that class? Employee service. Okay, if you want to connect a front end in Angular to a back end in Java, do you need to create a service? What do you call it? Service class in the front end. Yes, to connect Angular frontend with a Java backend, you should create an Angular service. This service will handle the HTTP requests. Okay, I thought about that. There will always be a class to handle the requests separate from the components. So you call it service. You create ng create services, and you say employee, for example. And inside them implement the service employee.service.ts. Let's say your boot is REST API. Okay, it's the same one that he's currently using, but there seems to be here more stuff. So these ones are related to the requests themselves, but everything around them is the setup. What is add injectable? Why does it say to root? Okay, so we have a lot of questions in this step. Okay, I want to check also what happens after. Use the service in a component. And we have here export class, implements on it. Display data in HTML. Enable HTTP client in Angular. It seems simple, but at the same time it's not. Okay, we start from the beginning. So we do need a service class that needs to handle the requests here. Explain to me how to implement the service class. We do have a couple of questions with that. What is the add in, okay, not the add in the app itself, inject one. Okay, and we do have to have the backend URL somewhere, so it does make sense. Why do we need to make a constructor and how to make it? And these ones, okay, we have a method and we set the type to observable employee. And what is observable? Then you return this .http .get employee. Okay, the context of, or the details of how the REST API is being implemented here, we'll search that later, but I need to know the context around it first. Implementing this in Angular, a service is a reusable class that provides functionality such as fetching data from a backend, managing state, or handling business logic. So everything that we separated to three layers in the backend, it's done in one class. Create the ng server, define the service class, and write the following code. Yes, we understand that. Break down the key concept in the service class. Injectable. Injectable is a decorator that marks a class as available for dependency injection. So it's like the add component that we do in Spring Boot, or any add to that matter. Angular services are typically injected into components rather than initiated manually. The provide in root means the service is available globally in the app. It ensures that only one instance of the service exists. That part is still not as much clear, but at least we know what the annotation does. Why do we need a constructor? Constructor is where we inject dependencies like the HTTP client into the server. So we create a class of private, the name is HTTP and the class is HTTP client, meaning we are injecting Angular with HTTP client service, which I assume is a class inside the JavaScript itself. Allows you to make API requests to the backend. Instead of manually creating an HTTP client object, Angular will automatically create it. Okay, a bit more clearer here. What is observable Angular? An observable is a stream of asynchronous data that allows you to handle HTTP responses efficiently. The method returns an observable http.getEmployee. And get, I assume, is a method of the HTTP client. Okay. It's a bit more clearer now, but there is a certain stuff that I need to understand. Forget the injection for now. So in the constructor, we are creating an HTTP object. Is that correct? I presume so. Not exactly. In the constructor, we are injecting an existing instance of the HTTP client service into your service class, not creating a new one. Okay, sure. Explain to me the HTTP client object. As a service in Angular. Okay, it's specific to Angular, not even JavaScript. That allows you to make HTTP requests like get, post, and put delete to communicate with the backend, usually for operations such as fetching data, submitting forms, and interacting with remote services. I thought usually it will be implemented, but it doesn't seem to be so. It seems like something that will be already there and you just have to write the methods, not that you have to configure everything from the beginning, but I might be mistaken. Anyway, it is part of the add Angular common HTTP model that provides you tools sending and receiving HTTP requests. So the .get, the .add, and everything is from that class. So here we are injecting what? So you have the constructor, and then we have private, and then we are injecting. But he said injecting, but I'm not sure what exactly are we injecting. Can you explain to me the injection? What exactly are we injecting, and to where? Dependency injection in Angular and is a design pattern used to manage dependencies of classes like services, components, and etc. The main idea is to inject objects or services into components or services rather than creating those components manually. Why do you use dependency decoupling, reusability, testing, and singleton? What exactly are we injecting? When we talk about injecting, we are typically injecting the service into components or other services. What is a service in Angular? A service is simply a class that provides certain functionalities. Can be used in multiple components across the app. For example, HTTP client. So HTTP client is one of the class or the components, and we are injecting what was the class name again? The one that we injected. Okay, maybe I should, if we are starting from here, instead of focusing on Angular, because everyone seems to be focusing on the design element of Angular, not how to fetch data. How to fetch data from API in Angular. Using services, yes.
Now, type the command ngserve to run your app.
Nope, we need a bit more explanation here. And something that's a bit new. So probably the first one.
Hello everyone, welcome to Cookcode Academy. Today in this video, I'm going to tell you how we can integrate API in Angular 17 project. So integrating API in Angular 17 is a bit different than the previous version because here we have the concept of a standalone component.
Yeah, it seems because Angular is technically still evolving, you have different variations from it. So all tutorials doesn't seem to be doing the trick.
In this video, I will show you how to integrate the API. So first, while using the HTTP for integrating API, we need to import the HTTP client module. So you can go to your specific component where you want to integrate your API, and you will mention something called as HTTP client module. So HTTP client module, and it will be imported like this: HTTP client module @angular/common/HTTP. And you will need one more thing to inject in constructor. So here I will make the constructor, and here I will mention private HTTP client.
So it's a pre-setup. You need to insert the client as a constructor inside the app component. But what does this exactly mean? Because I know constructors are used in Java differently from JavaScript. I know that. Okay, my keyboard is not keyboarding. I know that constructors in Java and JavaScript are different. If we are inserting HTTP client module inside the app component, and we add a constructor. How does that differ from Java? Yes, JavaScript seems to be borrowing a lot. Welcome, Diria. Sorry, the message system doesn't seem to be working today also for some reason. I'm pretty sure I opened it though. But it does seem to be lagging, yes, so thank you, I'll keep it up. But it should show the message though. Anyway, see, now it's working again. Hey, but I mean, if you didn't mention it, I would probably have gone without it for a longer period. Everything today seems to not be working properly for some reason. Anyway, you are absolutely right. The constructor in Java and JavaScript TypeScript have key differences. Let's break down the differences between constructor in Java and TypeScript. Maybe I should make a list of the things I hate about JavaScript. Things I hate about JavaScript. Let's make this in bold because studying Java and then going to JavaScript is very annoying because they have the same concepts, the same keywords that you use in other languages, but they mean different things. I'm not sure how does that work. Interfaces are not interfaces. What else? Constructors are not constructors. If I remember something else, I will type it here also. In Java, constructors are used to initialize an object when an instance of a class is created. Yes, we know that part. You can call a constructor and it's a required parameter, and yes, in TypeScript, Angular constructs serve a different purpose. Instead of creating a new instance of the class manually like in Java, Angular dependency injection system automatically provides instances of the services. Here is an Angular component with a constructor injecting the HTTP client. So he created the constructor, and by making the constructor, you automatically also make an instance of that variable, class or object. You don't need to explicitly call the new HTTP client. Angular automatically provides an instance of the HTTP client. The constructor is used to declare dependencies. That will inject for you. The main difference is that you don't create the HTTP client instance manually using the new. Angular handles that initialization and manage the HTTP client service. Yes, it's dependency injection. But why provide en route in the injection though? You explicitly call, but you don't. But wait, what will be the name of the class then? Okay, this just doesn't make any sense. So in Java, when you initialize an object, you will specify the name first, then the new keyword. You said in JavaScript you don't need to that, but what will be the name of the object? In Java, when you initialize, you typically specify the type, and here's the process. Yes, employee is the type of the class, and the name of the variable is employee. In TypeScript, you don't create instances of the service manually using the new keyword. Instead, Angular automatically creates and injects the instances service, and you only declare the service variable. The name of the object in TypeScript is determined by the variable name you assign the constructor to. Here is an example. We have add components. We have the constructor here, HTTP client. The more I keep on going, the more complicated it gets for some reason. Nope. I need a better explanation for how.
But since you've come to this module, that tells me that you want more, and we can totally do that. Right now, the application retrieves data from a hard-coded array in the housing service. Now, to make our app a little bit more realistic, we can use support to make HTTP requests for the housing locations. Now, the first change that we'll make is moving the data from a hard-coded array in our application into a standalone server on our local machine that we can use to make
Okay, he's saving data to the service. Okay, forget about that part for now.
Which is called JSON server. This is in this video you will
don't seem to be finding any good tutorial though. Ouch. And that's why I hate Angular. How to fetch data in Angular. Okay, there was a playlist here, but it was with the .NET.
Quick demo of this video. Here we'll implement SP.NET Core Web API query operations with Angular API, which is more.
Okay, no, I will just confuse myself more if I add the SAP.NET.
Hello everyone, welcome. Go to your specific component. We will.
The constructor part is the part that I still don't understand.
HTTP client. So these two things are done. Okay, so now I will create one method public fetch details. Okay.
Okay, now I need two pages, one to see the actual code and one to ask a question about the code. Okay, I will just need to copy this one first. And we have to make a new one here. And I have the code opened in this page, so we have this code. Now what I need to understand is dependency injection as a concept actually at the beginning. Okay, let's start from zero. What is dependency injection and how can you make it in JS and in Java? It's a design pattern used in object programming to decouple classes and their dependencies. Instead of a class creating its dependency internally, creating objects it needs, the class receives injections, those dependent from an external source. This promotes loose coupling, easier. Okay. How to implement dependency injection? Done manually because JavaScript does not have a built-in DI framework. However, you can use classes and constructor injection for setters. Okay, that's also the thing I would be needing to search here. Dependency injection.
Well, the literal meaning is to inject dependencies.
Yes.
So let's start by defining what a dependency is. A dependency is just another object that your class needs to function. So if you have a model class that fetches data from a database object, we can say that your model class has a dependency of that database object.
Because it's dependent on the database for it to actually work, yes.
So now that we know what a dependency is, let's talk about what it means to inject dependencies. Injecting dependencies just means that the dependency is pushed into the class from the outside. All that means is that you shouldn't instantiate dependencies using the new operator from inside of the class. Instead, take it as a constructor parameter or via. All that means
Okay, no, I need
is
to
that you
repeat that
shouldn't
again.
instantiate dependencies using the new operator from inside of the class. Instead, take it as a constructor parameter or via a setter. That's really all there is to dependency injection. You don't need a fancy container or a class or an object to do it. Sure, they may make your life easier, but you don't need them.
It's just adding the class inside the constructor, but I didn't understand about the part making it into another. Okay, so how about we ask if we didn't use dependency injection in Java, how would the process look like? Because I have only done it through dependency injection. Tight coupling. Example without the dependency injection, you create class and then you say void start, and then you have the car. The car has an engine and public car also new engine. With dependency injection, forget about this part because it's useless. You inject the engine. Okay, no, still doesn't make anything easier. So, what's the difference in implementation? Without DI, dependency are created inside the class. He keeps on using the word dependency, which doesn't make it even any better. Can you explain it in simple terms without saying dependency and just a class? Without dependency injection, he still mentioned the word again. Okay, imagine you have a car class that needs an engine to work. In this case, the car class is responsible for creating the engine. Whenever a new car is created, it does everything on its own. The car class creates its engine inside the constructor. If you want a different kind of engine, like a new type, you will need to go inside the car class and change it, change how it works to create the engine. Okay, so if we say that the car class needs an engine, the private engine is here, and we say this new engine, which is this one, equals to the new engine. That thing is alien to me because even if in university we weren't taught how to do it this way even. But where is the class engine though? Okay, the class engine here only consists of the one method. So inside the constructor, he created the new engine, but in the dependency, we accept the engine as a parameter and then we equate it to the class for it to work. If I'm mistaken, I will have to check. So from what I understood so far, without yes, I don't want to say your name, but I'm surprised you're here and awake. It's 7 hours, so it's probably what, 11 p.m. your time. I'm sorry, my bad. I always wanted to talk to you, but the time difference is a bit too long. Without the dependency. Okay, need to check again. Yes, without the dependency, you create a new class of engine inside the constructor, but in dependency injection you need, okay, I wrote you 2 times, you need to get the class engine first for it to work. Without dependency injection, forget about the terms here. The car class creates new instance of the engine inside the constructor. The car class does not need an existing new engine. So the key difference is in the word new. The key difference is in the word new. Without dependency injection, you have to create a class, and with the dependency injection, you done. Okay, now that we have cleared the difference, it's 10. Yeah, I thought so. 6 hours then. 6? No, actually it's 5 now. Just it's AM, not actually. Let me check how long is the difference between us and you. Time difference. So okay, yeah, it's 5 here and it's 10 your time, so it became, but it's AM, are you sure, not PM? That makes it even more time difference than it was before. Now how does this compare to dependency injection in JavaScript? Okay, I should just write DI from now on. In JavaScript, DI is generally manually done. That is why we don't have a built-in DI framework like Java Spring, so we create dependency ourselves using new or factor functions, them into the class manually. I checked. It is 10 AM. But wait, it's not AM here. Oh, okay, no, you are before us by 6 hours? 7 hours, yes. might look if we use constructor. Okay, so in JavaScript there is no the keyword new. I think that's false, but I want to check. In JS there is no new keyword that one use in Java. I don't think so, because I think I swear. While the new keyword can be used to create instances of classes, you don't necessarily always need to use new in the same way you do in Java. The new keyword then is used to create an object, inject the engine when creating the car. In JavaScript, you can use the new keyword to create an instance, but you don't always need to use it in the same way because JavaScript is more flexible in how it handles object. Nope, that makes it even more complicated. Let's get back. Okay, we finished that one. We create an instance of the engine outside the car class using new engine and pass it. Okay, is that in JavaScript? Yes, it is in JavaScript. So you create the class engine, and then you make a constructor, and then you add it. And you say this engine is equal to that engine. In Java, the I is often handled by frameworks like Spring Boot. These frameworks manage the creation and injection of dependencies for you, making it easier to inject the class across larger systems. Creating the dependency in JavaScript you done manually using the new keyword can be done automatically. Code responsibility, the developer manually injects the dependency. So I think that's what we have done here. We manually created the private, but where is the this equals this part? But when we have done the fetching, actually it's the same. Funny to you, I'm not even going with C. I have to do C and C++, and that's why I was studying C like today early morning, and I have an exam in 2 months in C and C++. That's actually not the challenge. You know what's the challenge? Studying JavaScript after you study Java and C++, because JavaScript doesn't make sense compared to the other ones. Like, actually, let me show you a graph of how it goes. Because you know what's funny? If you are a self-taught developer, okay, you usually go for JavaScript first. And you know what you do? Anytime you meet a place where you, for example, you need a backend, instead of using something like Java or C++, you know what they will use? They will scrap this entire idea and go with something like Node.js. Give me a second. Sorry, I'm back. Now back to my analogy. So I think it's a meme in the development community that if you are using only JavaScript, you are still a noob. And that's why they don't teach JavaScript even in university. Actually, they teach PHP and they don't teach JavaScript. So you will use Node.js. Anytime you want to use anything other than JS, you will find someone who created something for the framework. Even in Unreal Engine, you use C++, right? By 60%. Some people will just switch and do it in JavaScript. And that's like only 40% of the population that actually use that. And you know, it's even funny. JavaScript is not a programming language, it's a scripting language. So you have two type of people. It's either you study JavaScript and you find all the programming languages hard, or you studied all the programming languages and you find JavaScript hard. I'll give you another example. You know, in Java, you have to define the variable before actually creating you have to define the type before creating the variable. For example, you want to create a variable in Java. Just put it here. You say int, then a, and you say, for example, equals 5. You know, in JavaScript, you know what they do? They just write let, and then a, and then type 5. And what does this actually do? It will identify what type is in this variable, and then it will automatically change it to a matching type. But you know why is that bad? Because let's say you have a function, okay, and it takes not a string, let's say a number, and then you have to return a string. What will happen if someone by mistake, instead of giving a number, gave a string? It will not show an error. So that's the issue with with JavaScript, that it can cause a lot of issues because you don't have the typing and it's done automatically. So you can't put anything here. I can put boolean even if I want to. So you know what the people using JavaScript did? Instead of going to a new language, they created something new and they call it TypeScript. And what TypeScript does is, instead of having the let a equals 5, if you want to specify the type of inside JavaScript, you do it like this. You say a, double points here, and then you say number. And that's how you have type, and that's how you have it without type. And now, instead of just studying another programming language like Java, you have to study JavaScript with TypeScript, so that you are able to use a framework that's called Angular. You see the struggle between studying the backend and then going to the frontend. It's just better if I stayed in the backend without using JavaScript, but if you want to make a complete website, you have to also study that part. Yes, exactly. And the thing is, I finished studying the backend, and we do have a backend created, but the front end it's a complete mess because of this stuff right here. Okay, I just think I should log out. And yes, I wasted all my points. Now back to the dependency injection. How do you do dependency injection? I should just call it DI. DI in JavaScript. You make a constructor and then you use this. Now, how do you use it with the injectable in Angular? So they did have the this logger equal to this logger, but define a service with injectable. To create a service that can be injected to other components, you need to define the service class and then the injectable decorator. So we have here the service class. This makes the service available app-wide. Provide in root. Okay, that's new. What does this mean? The Angular provide in root syntax in the injectable decorator specifies the scope lifetime of the service. Global singleton. When you define the service with provide in root, Angular ensures that there is only one instance of that service for the entire application. This means the service will be shared across all components that inject it, effectively making it a singleton. Singleton is another design pattern that I'm not also familiar with. What? Okay, no. I need to type here. What is singleton? Singleton in two contexts. Design pattern, yes, and design pattern. Singleton pattern is used to ensure that a class has only one instance that and that instance is accessible globally. Okay, so that's what he referred to here. Okay, okay. Good luck to you with the Java class also. How does this differ from the model specified provider? I didn't even think of that, but okay. Now I have more questions. Why do we need to make the injectable class a singleton? Making an injectable class singleton in Angular has several important benefits, especially when working with dependency. Let's break it down. Ensures that there is only one instance of the class through the application. When you want to share a state or resource across multiple components or services. A service that manages user authentication. If you had multiple instances of this service, it might create an inconsistent user status. Okay, I need to understand what he also means by a service. In the previous context. What do you mean by service? A service refers to a class that provides functionality, logic, or data that can be shared across various parts of Angular application. A service is typically used to encapsulate business logic, data management, state management, or interactions. Okay. And then inject it into so let me get this straight. So the service class is the one connected to the what is called to the backend, basically the backend, and you don't need multiple instances of it so that you can what's the right word for that? You can avoid confusion. Exactly. The surface class in Angular only often serves as an interface between. The term interface seems to be used very loosely here. You mean interface as in Java interface, or what exactly do you mean? Let's not use words that already have meanings in other programming language. I don't mean it, yeah, okay, so that was what I was going to say. He doesn't mean it as an interface like an object, but rather than just a gateway. By using singleton service, provide in root. Okay, so that's a thing that you just write, I think. You avoid potential issues that might arise when having multiple instances of the service. So you have a single point of connection between the backend and the front end. But why provide in root property? Great question. Providing root property in Angular is decorator is a way to define the scope and lifetime. Let's break it down. You're telling the Angular dependency injection system to make the surface a singleton. I think it's just something that I have to memorize, that it makes it a singleton and the injectable makes it di. And provide it at root level of the application. In other words, Angular will create only one instance. So it seems like something that I will just have to memorize and write. So let's get to our project here. I think we will have to write this manually. But since I lost the code, it for me in Angular back no, sorry, service class that does CRUD operations to what is it called again? To Java backend, so that he can give us the code here. So first we create the entity for the class itself. Yes, we will talk about that part later. And then we have the service, and then we provide it by add injectable. Okay. So this is all in TypeScript, and we created that class. So outside here in the source folder, we need to create a class. We will call it employee service .ts. Let's just copy this part here, export the class. And the imports, we will manage them. So we say add injectable. That's part of Angle core. What was the word that I have to memorize? Provide in. The thing about add injectable, it has curly braces and normal braces also, so it's two. Okay, that's a weird type of thing I didn't think about, but okay. Let me say provide in, let me say it's root. So that's how we make this thing a singleton di. Now for the constructor, since we did the injectable, we don't need to specify the this to this thing. So actually, we will not write it here. Actually, we'll write it here. So when you make the add injectable annotation in GS, we don't need to add it is called again this dot employee equals to employee in the constructor parameter. When you use the add injectable decorator with the provide enrolled property, you do not need to manually add the dependency injection in the constructor and cite them the class. In Angular, when you use the constructor injection, the syntax without the disassignment, Angular automatically injects the client. So we use this word to get rid of the this equals this thing. And we made a variable that's, is that a variable? What is the HTTP client? Does it have a class? And is the HTTP a variable? And can we make the variable private? Yeah, I think you can, but and why? Why did we create a console? That's the thing about JavaScript. Hey, how do you? Can we actually do that in Java? I don't think so. And can you declare that that in Java? What exactly that? Let me specify it actually. Private variable inside the parameter in Java. The HTTP client is a class, yes, and it's a part of the Angular HTTP client model, which is used for making HTTP requests. Okay, so that's the .get and .post, the method that we have seen in the other code. Provide method to send requests and receive responses. These methods return observables. Okay, that's another thing. I will make a list of the things that I need to learn since we changed a bit of what we are using. For tomorrow's session. I already have it. What are observables? That's one question. So the HTTP client is a class that returns observable. These methods return observable which you can subscribe to in Angular component or services. Is HTTP a variable in Angular? Yes, it is a variable that refers to the instance of the HTTP client class. Private keyword is used to define the visibility of this private. Okay, we know what private is, but why make it a private? By making HTTP as a private is in the constructor, you are making it only accessible within the class. Yeah, it's called encapsulation. Okay, I was going to say. Meaning you cannot access and change the... You cannot change that variable. Yes, okay, so I get why private. Can you actually make a private inside the parameter though? Yes, that's what I was going to say. Usually it's like this, not like this. Okay, that's just JavaScript for you. Java constructor parameters themselves cannot be declared variable because the constructor parameter are scoped only to the constructor, but you can assign constructor parameter to variable. Yeah, that's what I was saying. So it's a JavaScript thing. Okay, now we have known much about this code. We finished that injectable. We know what this means. We finished understanding why we need a constructor and the URL to the backend. We still haven't used that, so I'm not sure. Now, why do we need a module? I think that's the export, so that's why. But we will get to that later. Then we have create and the parameter is entity, and it's called my entity manager, and from observable. For example, we need to get all, so we get the class, so you get it as if. This is for creation, this is for read, this is for read one, update, and then delete. And this is for handling errors. Let's start by explaining the create. But before that, I think we should actually see what the observables are. Remember, I said that will be tomorrow. I think finishing that subject today and then making it tomorrow will be better. Okay. What are observables? A core concept in reactive programming, and they are central to many operations in Angular, especially when working with asynchronous data streams. I need to transfer. What does this mean also? What does... Essentially, an observable is a mechanism to handle asynchronous event or data streams in a declarative way. It's a data stream that allows you to subscribe to it and listen for changes or events. Once you subscribe to an observable, it can emit values over time, and you can react to those values as they come in. Think of an observable link, a collection of data that you receive over time, such as user input, HTTP requests. So it's an ever-changing data depending on the situation. Okay. The observable emits values. It can be a single or multiple values. Yes, subscribe to it. You subscribe to observable to listen for these emitted values. So you get the observable and then you listen to it. Something like try and catch. React to emitted data. Once you subscribe, you can handle emitted values using callbacks or operators. Now, I think this concept will be a bit too much to study now after all the chaotic that we went through. But at least we now know where to exactly start. So after finishing the backend, you make a service class that handles all the requests to the backend and then exports. Let me show the code here. And then exports the entity that we're using. For example, the entity that we're using is an employee. So we import it as an interface. And then we ask that, okay, I remember doing a small project with JavaScript before, and they didn't use it as that way, but use it as an array. So it's basically the same concept. We have a different class specifically used for handling the service requests. Okay. We did study a bit a lot today, and I think I'll just keep on doing Angular till I actually finish it, since we are already way ahead in the backend part. Not as much in the front end. The front end is a bit lacking. So we need to finish what is observable. Create crude methods in the class, and then export them. If we manage to do that, that will mean that we'll be able to get all the data that we did in the backend. And now we will have all the information, and the part that we will be missing is just doing the normal front-end stuff, which is like making the header, making the navigation, and all this stuff, which I suck at. So they an entirely different story. So we'll have two different... Okay, let's move this because this is all. We have two different sections now. The section where we get the backend information first, and the section where we represent that information. Actually, also let me write this in all caps. The Angular topics that I have been seeing so far are related more to the design part, not necessarily the backend. Should probably research about what is asynchronous data. But definitely JavaScript is one of a kind. It takes too much effort to study than actually Java, but probably because I had someone to teach me Java, unlike JavaScript. I actually need to ask, what are the key concepts in JavaScript? Variable data types, we know about that part. Functions, the arrow functions, the control flow, the if else, for loop, array and objects, event handling. Event handling is something that I'm definitely not familiar with. Asynchronous programming, okay, so that's the part we are missing. It's not directly related to what we are doing, but I should also search it a bit more. Asynchronous programming, we also need to search that more. Not sure what closures are. Only have taken a light course in JavaScript, probably that's why. Scope and hosting local host. Okay, I think I know this word. And the scope, I think I'm a bit familiar with it, not that much. A6 feature destructuring a syntax. No, forget about the E6 part right now. And there is E6 plus even. It introduces import and export. I mean, more or less we already know about these parts. The try and catch is something we are familiar with from Java, and it's good that we see it here also. So the only three things that we are missing is closure, event handling, and asynchronous data. And I think for our part in the project right now, we're doing the event handling and the asynchronous data. Okay, so we'll study tomorrow, starting from the observables. And after that, we'll study what are asynchronous, because that actually came up. And I think that one is related to observable. And I need to research the difference between both of them because they seem to be similar. And then we continue with our app, and then the closure part is an extra if we manage to finish everything here. So I think I'll have to end it early today, not even the gaming part for today also, because I started the stream a bit too late today. So that will be it. I'm not sure if the AI is still working, but I'll have to say goodbye now. I have to stop 2 streams at once this time for the first time. But we'll say goodbye to YouTube first. Dismiss, and then we have to say goodbye to Twitch after.